Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is May 10th, 2023. There's lots of exciting news about Barcelona, starting with the fact that Deco, the former Barcelona player, and the current Barcelona, the current footballing agent and the former Barcelona player has met with the club in order to discuss his possible incorporation into the board of directors as the replacement of Matteo Alemany. Also, Jordi Alba and his agents have met with the club in order to discuss the future of the player. And finally, Raphinha has denied the rumors of any possible exits come this summer. We have a lot of exciting news, so let's begin. Welcome everyone to the live stream. This is honestly my favorite day of the week when I get to do these live streams because I feel like I'm talking directly to you guys instead of talking into a camera, even though I'm technically still talking into a camera, but I love the live streams. I love this talking to you guys. I love engaging with you and listening to what you guys have to say through the live chat rather than comments. Again, these live streams are every Mondays and Wednesdays, 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And there's also the post-match analysis live streams. I will be doing one this Saturday after Barcelona will play against Espanyol, where if we win, we will be crowned champions of La Liga. So hopefully that live stream will be a happy one, and hopefully we'll all get to celebrate Barcelona's first La Liga title in 3 or 4 years. I think 2019 was the last time we won one, so I think 4 years. But nonetheless, again, welcome everybody who's watching. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you are looking for any Barcelona jersey or merchandise, make sure you hit the kit bag. I have put that link down below in the description. For those of you who don't know what kit bag is, it's pretty much a football store. They have merchandise and jerseys from all the major leagues of football around the world. They have really cool stuff. Sometimes people ask me about the shirts that I wear. They're all from Kitback. So again, if you want to buy anything, just make sure you hit the link. It'll take you to Kitback where you can buy all that merchandise. Now, having said that, I know you're not here to hear all that stuff. You're here to find out news about FC Barcelona. So let's start with that. Let's start with the news that Deco, the former Barcelona player and the current footballing agent, met today with the board of directors. As I've talked about in the past, he is the number one candidate to replace Matteo Alemany, the director of football, who will be leaving the club on June 30th. So Deco met with the board of directors today. There's already talks that he will be joining the board. He will be joining Barcelona in the place of Matteo Alemany. That there's no doubt about it. Even though Barcelona were considering other candidates like Fernando Carro from Bayer Leverkusen or Vitor Bahia from Porto, there's talks that pretty much this deal is done and that Deco will be joining Barcelona in that place of Matteo Alemany. Now, I talked about in yesterday's video how Barcelona, what they're thinking about is promoting Jordi Cruyff into the position of Matteo Alemany and having Deco take over the position of Jordi Cruyff, where Deco would be the person who would travel around the world, meet up with players, meet up with their entourages, meet up with other clubs, establish those contacts, establish those networks, establish those relationships. And then Jordi Cruyff would be more the man behind the scenes who would take care of the negotiations, close down the contracts. So that's kind of what Barcelona are thinking about right now. And again, it looks like Deco will be joining Barcelona. It's not 100% confirmed by the club, but that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like it's going to happen. Now, Jordi Cruyff, his contract does expire with the club in July of the summer. The club really want him to renew for one more season. As I mentioned before, Jordi Cruyff kind of has his doubts about whether to stay or not, given that Matteo Alemany is leaving and given that he does have disagreements with the board of directors about the direction of the project. But Barcelona really want Jordi Cruyff to stay. They want to work on convincing him to stay. And there's now talks about that Xavi is going to join Joan Laporta in trying to convince Jordi Cruyff to stay because Xavi really wants Jordi Cruyff to stay. He's been working with him this whole past season, and he considers him to be a crucial member of the board of directors. So it looks like Xavi will be joining Joan Laporta and the board of directors' efforts in trying to convince Jordi Cruyff to stay and renew for at least one more season. Now, in this new structure where if Jordi Cruyff does stay, again, he would take the place of Matteo Alemany with Deco taking his place. And there's talk about Xabi having more authority over what players the club will sign and offload. So all three of them will definitely be working close together, with Xabi having more power in the decision making of which players will Barcelona sign. Now, there was a candidate that I mentioned in a previous video who's Antonio Cordon, who was the football director of Real Betis and who resigned recently in a few months. Before that, he was with Monaco. He did wonderful jobs with both clubs. And there was a lot of talks initially when it was announced that Alemany was going to quit, that Antonio Cordon would be taking his place. But today he finally broke the silence and he has said that no, that those rumors are false, that Barcelona never contacted him, and that the only relationship he has with Barcelona is a professional one, and that he wishes Jordi Cruyff to stay with the club, and he wishes him good luck because he thinks that he is the best man for the job. So no Antonio Cordon, but again, like I said, it seems that Deco will be the person to join the Barcelona. So it's really not, doesn't really matter, I guess, if Antonio Cordon denies it or not, because it looks like Deco will be the man for the job. Now, let's head to the chat section. We have plenty of news after that. Let's see what you guys are saying. We'll get a discussion going. As always, this is my favorite day of the week, which is when I get to do these live streams. Adedoyin says, "Hi Mo, what's up, man? Thank you for watching. Thank you for being in the chat section." Paul says, "Good evening, Mo. I'm watching live from Liberia." That's amazing. What's up, Paul? Sending my love to all of my Liberians, brothers and sisters. Ray says, "Good evening, Mo. I'm watching from Suriname in South America." That's freaking awesome. I've actually never met anyone from Suriname. So what's up, Rave? Again, hello to everybody in Suriname. That's freaking awesome. Paul says, "How much of those shirts you're talking about?" What do you mean? If you're asking how many shirts I've gotten from Kitback, pretty much every shirt that's Barcelona shirt that I wear, I've gotten from Kitback. Rave says, "But what about Raphinha?" Good question. That's in today's video. So stay tuned. We'll talk about it. And Mark says, "Shout out from Germany." That's awesome. What's up, Mark? And shout out to everybody in Germany. Thank you guys for creating Mark ter Stegen, in my opinion, the best goalkeeper in the world. But let's get back to the news with the sad news that today Barcelona confirmed the news that I spoke about in yesterday's video, which is that Sergio Busquets, our captain, will be leaving the club at the end of the season. Now, we kind of started this week knowing that this was going to happen, but now the club have officially confirmed it. And of course, it's always a lot sadder when it's officially confirmed, even though you already know it's going to happen, because Sergio Busquets is undoubtedly part of our history, part of the history of the club. He is our captain. He was with the club for 20 seasons. He won everything there is to win with Barcelona, and not just with Barcelona, with the Spanish squad as well, winning the World Cup and the Euros. He is the best pivot in the history of the club. He's one of the best pivots, if not the best pivot in the history of the sport at all. He is the man who will go down in history as someone who completely revolutionized the number 5 position, or the pivot position. He's definitely going to be missed. He's been holding our midfield for many, many years. Again, 20 to be more specific. He came up through La Masia and he won 30 total trophies with Barcelona. That's a lot of trophies, but that just goes to show the greatness of Sergio Busquets, who's now been confirmed by FC Barcelona that he will be leaving at the end of the season. Now, we all know that Busquets' contract was set to expire at the end of the season. Of course, Xabi wanted him to stay for one more season. It was initially reports saying that Busquets had made up his mind that he was going to go to the MLS, join Inter Miami. There was talks about him looking for a house where to live, looking for schools for his kids. And when it seemed like he was determined to leave to the MLS, Xabi spoke to him and tried to convince him to stay for one more season. And then it seemed like Busquets was going to stay. You know, the club started to negotiate with his representative. They offered him a 1-season extension contract. And when it seemed like he was going to stay, finally, after a lot of consideration, it looks like Busquets is going to leave. Now, we still don't know where Busquets is going to go. You would presume that he would go to the MLS, since that was his initial intention. But now there's a lot of talks that he will not be going to the MLS. So the other option would be with Saudi Arabia. He has standing offers from both Al Hilal, which is the club that want to sign Leo Messi, and Al Nasser also, which is the club that has signed Cristiano Ronaldo. I personally would prefer to see Sergio Busquets in the MLS. I don't have anything against the Saudi League, but obviously MLS is light years ahead of the Saudi League, so I would like Sergio Busquets to be in MLS. Plus, I do live in the United States, so of course I am biased. I would rather have Sergio Busquets come here so I can watch him. But again, we don't know where he's going to go. But we do know for sure is that he will be leaving at the end of the season, which is a huge, huge loss for Barcelona. He was one of the last fixtures left from that golden era of Barcelona, and he too will be leaving. Now, since Busquets is leaving, of course, that opens up the door to a new captain. You know, the four captains right now is Busquets, Sergio Roberto, Jordi Alba, and Mark ter Stegen. So the question is, who will be replacing Sergio Busquets in that captain position? Now, there's talks about that Xavi would really like either Robert Lewandowski or Ronald Araujo to be the fourth captain. I personally love both options. I think I really like how Lewandowski has incorporated himself into the club ever since he has arrived. You know, he has become kind of like the godfather to all the young players. There's a lot of talks about how he's taken a lot of these young players, especially Gabi, under his wing, you know, trying to teach them, trying to pass his knowledge on, coaching them during trainings. And we've even seen it on the field during matches where he's constantly coaching players, telling them where to stand, where to go, how to run, etc. You know, he's really done a great job, Lewandowski, of incorporating himself to the club and become that leader, not just in the locker room, but also on the field. So I think given his leadership skills, what he has done at the club, and given the fact, you know, his experience where he has won everything there is to win, I think Lewandowski will be a great captain. But then again, there is Ronald Araujo, who's an absolute, you know, a beast in the defense. You can see him, how he commands the entire defensive line, how he commands that entire section. So I think either one will be a great choice. I don't know, honestly, who to pick, but I do want to hear from you. Who do you think who should be Barcelona's fourth captain? Should it be Robert Lewandowski or should it be Ronald Araujo? Let's head back to the chat. We'll get another discussion going. And of course, we do have news about Jordi Alba, which is very interesting news. You guys are going to like what is coming out of Barcelona in regards to Jordi Alba, especially since a lot of you have been asking about for Barcelona to sign Frimpong, but I won't ruin it. I won't do any spoiler alerts. Let's head to the chat, and then I'll tell you what news I have for you. Okay, Jerry says, Messi. Yes, Messi. Hopefully he can come. Not so much from the sporting. I mean, I still want to see him, obviously, on the field. He's still the best player in the world, but I think his reincorporation into the team would be huge, financially speaking. I think Messi could be that lever that really gets Barcelona out of the financial hole that we're currently in. All right, Underwave says from France, hello, Bisca Barça. Bonjour, Underwave, and merci for joining the live stream. Ray says Busquets was underrated, but for me, he is a legend and he might be irreplaceable. I totally agree. I don't think they're ever going to be another Sergio Busquets. He really was underrated. You know, when you don't really scoring goals and providing assists, you know, people really don't appreciate you as much. And everything that Busquets did in the midfield, from, you know, defensive work, holding the midfield, distributing the ball, his vision, his leadership, I think that's definitely goes a little bit sometimes unappreciated, but he's definitely irreplaceable. Like I said, he's the guy who completely revolutionized how the number 5 position is played. All right. The 1975 says, hello, guys. What's up, man? Thank you for joining. And Frank says, I also from Ghana and live in Libya. That's awesome. What's up, Frank? Hello to everyone in Ghana and Libya. And Paul says, what about Messi in Ilkay Gundogan? Again, everything's up in the air. The feasibility plan got approved. So Barcelona could technically sign Leo Messi, but they first have to meet all the objectives of the feasibility plan, which I detail all in yesterday's video. So if you want to know what Barcelona needs to do to meet that feasibility plan, definitely watch yesterday's video. And as far as Ilkay Gundogan, everything is agreed to. The player wants to come. He understands the limitation of Barcelona as far as the economy. He's willing to accept a lower salary. But again, there's a problem where he is worried that whether Barcelona is going to be able to register his contract or not. So both operations are still pending. All right, let's go back to the news. Jordi Alba. So now that Busquets will be leaving the club for sure, of course, the big question is what's going to happen with Jordi Alba. because now that Busquets will be leaving, Jordi Alba will officially become the highest earner on the team. And as I mentioned in yesterday's video, Barcelona need to reduce the salaries of the first squad by 60 to 70 million euros. So that means that Barcelona really need to either get rid of Jordi Alba or drastically reduce his salary in order to meet the objectives of the feasibility plan. Now, it's reported that Jordi Alba's agents both met. He has two agents. They work together. They both met with the board of directors today to discuss the future of the player. Seems that Jordi Alba is insisting that he doesn't want to leave Barcelona. It's a family issue. He lives in Barcelona, obviously, with his wife. He has, his wife is very happy in the city of Barcelona. He has two kids who go to school there, and they're happy in their school. He's about to have a third kid, so he really doesn't want to leave, mostly because of family issues. He wants to stay in Barcelona. His contract expires next year, summer of 2024. But again, Barcelona need to reduce his salary in order to meet the feasibility plan objectives. So they met with his agents, and it seems that Barcelona have told the agents that they will start hearing offers for the player in the summer. Now, there are several options that Barcelona can take in regards to Jordi Alba. The number one option could be to extend his contract. In that way, the money that they owe him would be stretched out, instead of having to pay all of it, because they do owe him 36 million euros because he did agree to defer his salary during the pandemic. He didn't reduce it. He agreed to defer it, which means, don't worry about right now, pay my salary later. So the club do owe him 36 million euros. So there's an option where Barcelona could extend his contract for another 2 or 3 seasons. In that way, divide those 36 million euros over those 3 years. So instead of having to pay it all at once, you would pay it in 3 installments, which will be more affordable for the club. I personally, even though I do think Jordi Alba is past his prime and his time is up, I don't see that as complete as a bad option. And the reason I say that, because Jordi Alba has proven that he is a good substitute for Alejandro Balde. Again, he is past his prime. He's not the Jordi Alba that he used to be, but I think someone who can come off the bench. He is a good player. We've seen it do it a lot this season, where he would come off the bench, have great performance. There's 2 matches where he scored the winning goal. So I don't mind have Jordi Alba on the bench for another 2 seasons or 3. But again, I do understand people's reservation with this option where they already want to see him leave the club. Another option is to give him the letter of freedom, which means Barcelona would cancel his contract, mutual cancellation, of course, and Jordi Alba would leave to wherever he wants to, but Barcelona would not make any money. And then finally, the third option would be that Jordi Alba would stay until next year, but he would accept a huge salary reduction. Now, let's talk about Jordi Alba understanding the financial situation of the club, and he is willing to work with the club, but he does have some conditions. So we're going to have to see this negotiation. This is going to be a negotiation that will take some time. But for now, Jordi Alba's future is up in the air, and we don't know what's going to happen. Now, I mentioned Frimpong before we started talking about the chat section. And the reason I mentioned this is because there are reports saying that Jordi Alba's agents were not just there to discuss Jordi Alba. They were also there to discuss other players that they represent. Now, what players do these agents represent? Well, number one is they represent Pau Torres, who is a center back. So by process of elimination, I don't see Barcelona discussing with these agents Pau Torres, because again, Barcelona have 5 center backs. They just signed the 6th one with Íñigo Martínez. The other player that they represent is Hugo Guillamón. Now, Guillamón does play as a center back, but he can also play as a pivot, which could be an option since Sergio Busquets is leaving the club. So maybe they talked about him. But again, as I reported in yesterday's video, it seems that Xavi's number one option for the pivot position is Sofiane Amrabat, which leaves us with the last option, who is Jeremy Frimpong. Frimpong is represented by the same guys who represent Jordi Alba. He has been linked with Barcelona on several occasions to be that player to fill the right back position. Now, again, this is not for sure. We don't know that for sure Barcelona spoke to these agents about Frimpong. All we know is that Barcelona talked to these agents about someone else besides Jordi Alba. And again, by process of elimination, we could deduce that they might have spoke about Jeremy Frimpong. Now, I would personally love to see Frimpong in that right back position. Again, Barcelona really need to reinforce that position. And I would rather see Frimpong over Juan Foyth, who's Xavi's number one option. I know all of you guys would love to see that. You're constantly commenting saying, I want to see Frimpong in Barcelona. And I constantly say, there's no money for him. There's no money for him. But since I've said that, things have changed and La Liga have approved the feasibility plan. Now, I'm not saying that Frimpong is coming, but things have changed and there might be space for him on the squad. And Barcelona might have discussed this with his agents. We don't know again, but it is a possibility. I really hope it is because, again, I would love to see Frimpong in the right back position. Let's hit the chat section and then we'll continue going. All right, let's see. Where did we leave off? Paul says, what about Miss? Oh, wait, we already did that. Steve, what about Kessie? I think Kessie is going to be offloaded in the summer. He has really good market value in the Serie A, between 30 to 35 million euros, maybe even 40 million euros. And since he arrived as a free agent, that would be net profit for Barcelona. So I think he will be offloaded in the summer, because Barcelona would be able to make those 40 million or 35 million euros clean, pure profit, which would go a huge way towards that. One of the objectives of the feasibility plan, which is for Barcelona to generate 100 million euros in players' sales. Crispy Chicken, I love your name, by the way. Might also be because I'm really, really hungry right now. I just got back from work, so maybe that's why. But it says, Crispy Chicken, I finally caught one of your live streams recently. What do you think about Amrabat possibly replacing Busquets? So with Amrabat, I really like him. I think he's a great defensive midfielder. He's very physical. He's very strong. His presence is very commanding in the midfield. He's someone who can contribute a lot to the Barcelona's defense. My only small reservation, and don't kill me, I know you guys love Amrabat, and I'm not saying he shouldn't come or he sucks or something like that. My only small reservation about Amrabat is that he is a lot more defensive than he is offensive. And I think where Barcelona are really lacking is the offense. The defense, we are set. I mean, right now, statistically speaking, when you look at the numbers, we have the best defense in all of Europe, not just in La Liga, in all of Europe. We have a freaking wall with Ter Stegen, with Balde, with Koundé, with Araujo, with Christensen. We have a wall. So I think the fact that Amrabat is a lot more defensive than he is offensive, I think that's going to affect the team a little bit because I think we need to work more on our offense because even though, we can go all these matches with clean sheets, our problem is we can't score. So I wish Amrabat was a little bit more offensive where he could contribute more to the offense. But again, great choice. I do want to see Amrabat. Don't think I'm saying that he shouldn't come or that he sucks. Not at all. I would love to see Amrabat on the team. I just wish he was a little bit more offensive. But that doesn't mean that he's not a good option. He's obviously a great option. I would rather have Sofiane Amrabat over Subimendi. I think he's a great, great option. Okay, one more and we'll get back to the news. All right. Michael says, I question why Buzi decided to have his last season now. Messi soon to come back. I really think why Buzi decided to leave. And again, we're not going to know this until maybe several years later where he does some exclusive interview with someone and reveals his reason. But I think the real reason is he finally figured out, his time is up. And he wanted to leave on a good note. It's the same with Xavi, the same with Iniesta. They're all legends of the club who were the best in their positions, who won everything there is to win, who gave everything they have to the club. And now I think they realize it's time to leave on a good note. You don't want to stay past your time and, start making too many mistakes because now you're older and then have the fans remember your last season or two as being a crappy player rather than them remember your entire brilliant career. I think that's really why. But anyways, let's get back to the news because Iñaki Peña has officially signed his contract extension with Barcelona. Now, Iñaki Peña is the second goalkeeper of the first squad. He came up through the Barcelona Academy. He joined La Masia in 2012. So he's been at the club for 11 years now. He left last season to Galatasaray on loan. His contract was about to expire. I can't remember if it's this summer or 2024. I think it's 2024. But there was talks about the club wanting to renew him because they consider him as the goalkeeper of the future. Once Mark Ter Stegen steps down, they want Iñaki Peña to take that position to be the main goalkeeper. But there were some doubts whether he's going to renew or not because even though Iñaki Peña wants to stay in Barcelona, there was some fear that he might want to go somewhere else to look for minutes because, being in the shadow of Mark ter Stegen is not easy. And Galatasaray were very interested in signing Iñaki Peña. They were after him. They were offering him a lot of money. But it seems that Iñaki Peña has decided to stay in Barcelona. He has signed a contract extension until 2026. And the club have placed a 400 million euro release clause. Great news because, again, these are the kind of players that we need to keep in the club. Players who love the club, who've come up through the academy, who feel the colors, who feel that what it means to be a Barcelona player. So I'm really glad that Iñaki Peña has renewed. Now, speaking of La Masia, I do want to mention Ilyas Akomak. He was someone who also came up through the academy. He was playing for Barca Athletic. He's a winger. There was a lot of expectations, a lot of hype around him. He was really supposed to be the next big star. His contract expires this summer. He started asking for a lot more money than what the club can offer him. So negotiations fell through for his contract renewal. And then eventually he decided to leave. And then there was, it seemed like he was going to go to Leeds United. But now his offer or his agreement with Leeds United has completely fell through because both the sporting director and the coach of Leeds United have been sacked. And those are the people who wanted to count on Akomak. So now that they've both been sacked, Akomak's possible transfer to Leeds United has fallen through, and now his future is completely up in the air. Now, Barcelona are not looking to renew him because even though he was a rising star, his performance has completely dipped where he's no longer, living up to the hype or the expectations that the club have of him. He actually played 3 matches with the first squad last season. He played in the Champions League this season against Victoria Pilsen. And now there's talks about Rafa Marquez not even wanting him in Barca Athletic and that he might even be sent back down to the Juvenil A or the under-19 US team, which is very sad because, again, there was a lot of hype behind his future. He seemed like he was going to be the next star, and he went from playing the Champions League and with the first squad in La Liga to now going back down all the way to the Juvenil A, because unfortunately his growth got stunted. And now we don't know where he was going to go. He did have some offers from Sevilla, from Napoli. I can't remember what other club, but now again, that his performance has dipped a lot. We don't know if he's going to still have those offers. Very sad news, but hopefully something works out. Being a player from Masia, I will always wish him the best. Let's head back to the chat section, and then we'll talk about Raphinha next. And then we'll finish the video up with some news about Aubameyang. All right. Cinto has, we don't have good defense, Mo. Didn't you watch in Europe competitions? We don't have good defense. We have great defense. They're the best defense in Europe. They actually just broke the record for most clean sheets in Europe. So you can't say that it's not a good defense. Sheldon says, what's the issue with Julian Araujo? Julian Araujo still with the Barca Athletic. He's training. His coaches like his attitude. They like his hard work. He has really good work ethic, but they don't think he is ready to be promoted to the first squad yet. So even though they like how he has adapted to the team, to his teammates, to the city, how he trains hard, how he, definitely motivated, very focused, very committed, they don't think he's there yet. So there are talks about sending Julian Araujo on loan for the next season so he can get exposure to the first division in La Liga because, again, he came from the MLS. That's a big jump in quality to go from MLS all the way to La Liga. So they want to send him on loan so he can get, some exposure because since they don't think he's ready to be promoted, they don't want him spending a whole nother season on the bench. They want to send him on loan. He can get more experience. If he can prove himself on loan, then probably he can get promoted. If not, then maybe the club would end up offloading him permanently. But for now, the plan is to send Julian Araujo on loan. All right, let's talk about Raphinha because, there's been a lot of reports back and forth that Raphinha could be leaving. We heard about the Newcastle offer to Barcelona worth 80 million euros. There was talks about Raphinha that he could be considering leaving because he wants to get more playing time. He knows he's going to be Dembele's substitute, and he wants to get more playing time so he can play in Brazil. I talked about last video how the club for now have told them that they don't plan on selling him, but if they have to, then they will. But Xavi does count on him. Eventually, after all these rumors back and forth, it looks like Raphinha has gotten tired of it. and he was seen on social media replying to a post from a media outlet in Brazil that said that Raphinha was going to join the Premier League, where he commented, "That's an absolute lie." Apparently, the media outlet deleted his comment, so he commented again. He's like, "Why are you deleting my comment? This is a lie. I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying in Barcelona. If you delete my comment again, I will post my response on social media." So it seems that Raphinha denying completely the fact that he's going to leave. Again, as I said before, I think that if Xabi were to sit down with Raphinha and tell him that he doesn't count on him, he would leave. But Xabi does not want to do that. Xabi really counts on Raphinha. He wants him to stay at the club. So for now, it looks like Raphinha is staying. Another news I want to touch about real quick is Aubameyang. I mentioned before that Chelsea were starting to kind of give up on selling Aubameyang and were considering to letting him go free, which will mean that he would be an option for Barcelona, because the only way Barcelona would consider the signing of Aubameyang is if he would come as a free agent and if he accepts a salary reduction, which Aubameyang has no problem with because he wants to come back to Barcelona. But now it looks like Chelsea once again have changed their mind, and it seems the reason is Joao Felix. Now, Chelsea are very happy with Joao Felix, who's currently on loan with the Premier League club. They want to sign him from Atletico de Madrid, especially since El Cholo Simeone doesn't want to see Joao Felix back in Madrid. So Chelsea want to sign Joao Felix. They don't want to sign him for the price that's currently his contract. I think it's something like 120 or 140, something very, very high. But they are contemplating to do kind of a swap deal where it would see Aubameyang join Atletico Madrid, plus, of course, some cash in exchange for Joao Felix. So it looks like Chelsea might not end up letting Aubameyang leave for free, because they are considering offering him to Atletico Madrid in exchange for Joao Felix plus some cash. Atletico Madrid are, of course, very interested in Aubameyang. When Barcelona had announced that they were going to offload Aubameyang in the summer transfer market, Atletico Madrid were one of the first clubs to jump on this and say, we want him, let's try to sign him. It didn't work out, of course. He ended up going to Chelsea. But Atletico Madrid are very interested in him. Now, this doesn't mean that Aubameyang will sign for them, because, again, he's dying to come back to Barcelona. But he could, because he knows that he has no future at Chelsea. He hasn't been getting any playing time. He knows he has to leave. So we're definitely going to have to see what's going to happen. As I've said before, I don't want to see Aubameyang back in the club, not because I have anything against him. I think he's a great player. He did amazing things here in Barcelona. He helped us qualify to the Champions League. But unfortunately, he is 34 years old, and we need to start looking at the future. We cannot bring a 34-year-old to be the substitute of another 34-year-old. That just doesn't make any sense. Anyways, guys, that's all the news. We have a few more minutes. Let's go to the chat section, get a discussion going. I see there are 83 people watching, but only 21 likes. That's a quarter. Let's make that 83 people watching with 83 likes. Let's hit that like button. Again, make sure to subscribe. And, another thing is my YouTube analytics says that only 40% of people who watch my videos are subscribed. So that means more than half watch the videos but are not subscribed. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, guys. It's free. It takes a second, and it helps me it helps me a lot, and continue to grow this channel. I know I always say that, ask of you guys to subscribe. Again, I know I'm asking a lot. You guys have been absolutely awesome. The best YouTube community, no doubt. The best Barca YouTube community, no doubt. So for those of you who already subscribed, for those of you who already hit the like button, again, 1,000 times, thank you for always supporting this channel. And let's head to the chat section. All right. Let's see. Steve says Brozovic incoming. I don't think so. No, I don't think Brozovic will be coming. Rafe says, I heard Barca is trying to beat Freiburg for 15-year-old French player who can play center back and pivot. Yes, I mentioned that in yesterday's video. Check it out. I put all the news about Amidou. I can't say his last name, but he's definitely in yesterday's video. Check it out. Sintu says, selling Raphinha in his first season would be harsh. He needs at least another season. It would be if the economy of the club wasn't that bad. I think just because the economy of the club is such bad and he has such a high value, I think I would be in favor of his sale. Crispy Chicken says, I feel like both Amrabat and Frankie together would be crazy good. I think so too, because Amrabat could be because Frankie is very good offensively. He knows how to break lines. He knows how to drive the ball all the way to the box, which that's what makes him kind of like a bad single pivot, because when he does lose the ball, he leaves his defense exposed because he's all the way up. But if he can have Amrabat backing him, I think it would be amazing. It would give Frankie de Jong so much more freedom to drive that ball to the front, to assist with the with the offensive duties, to assist the forwards or the strikers with the ball. I think it would be a great combination. Let's see. Rave says Peña contract was expiring this season. Yes, that's right. I remember now. Summer of 2023. All right. Paul says, will we really get a young and energetic backup striker to Robert if we miss out on Vitor? I hope so. I really hope so. I mentioned several, I think it was a week or two ago, two options that Barcelona were considering. One of them was Hojland. The other one was, I'm blanking on his name. He plays in Belgium. So hopefully, I really hope so, because we need it. We need to think long term. Lewandowski is 34 years old. His contract expires in 2 years. We need to think long term. Naomi says, Frimpong for right back. Yes, I agree. And she also, Naomi also says selling Raphinha would be harsh. Again, yeah, but given the club's financial situation, I wouldn't mind. Michael says attack with Lewa, Messi, Dembele sounds crazy. It does, but as I've said before, I think the plan for Messi would not be to play in attack, would be more in a midfield. There's talk about a 4-4-2 formation, either a diamond midfield or a box midfield, but it would be more of a midfield rather than wing. So it'd be probably just Dembele and Lewandowski in the front. But I mean, can you imagine Messi just filtering passes to Lewandowski all day? I mean, that would be just insane. I would love to see that, even if it's just one more season. Sintu says Mo hates Raphinha. I don't hate him. I just don't think he's good enough for the club. 22 Chad says he's objective. Raphinha isn't good. Thank you. Let's see. Sintu says, why Raphinha don't get the same criticism as Torres? I agree. I've said that in a previous live stream where I said I don't understand why people insist on defending Raphinha. It's not that I have, again, something against him. When I see a player play good, I say, hey, he played good. When he plays bad, I say, hey, he plays bad. And that's what you're supposed to do as a fan. When players do a good job, you're supposed to recognize it. And when they do a bad job, you're supposed to criticize it. I don't believe in always supporting a player or always criticizing a player. That doesn't make any sense. You can't just hate on a player every time, regardless how they do, or they can't also say he's great regardless what they do. You have to be fair with the assessment. And when Raphinha has played good, like his match against Sevilla, for example, he had a really good match against Real Madrid. And then what was the third one? I can't remember. He's only had like 3 or 4 matches really good. I said it. He had a great match. And when he's had a bad matches, I've said he's had bad matches. And that's what you're supposed to do. And for some reason, those who like to, defend Raphinha, they're always defend him regardless, which makes no sense to me because, when Ferran Torres plays bad, they're like, Ferran Torres sucks. Let's offload him. When Ansu Fati plays bad, Ansu Fati sucks. Let's offload him. When Raphinha plays bad, well, he's not really a dribbler. Well, it's not really his profile. Well, it's like, why are you excusing a guy who's making millions of euros a year to play football? Why are you excusing him? Like, this is Barcelona. We have high standards. Let's uphold those players to high standards. If a player does not meet those standards, he needs to leave. If he can meet them, great, you can stay. But why are people always like doing mental gymnastics just to defend the guy? I don't get it. I mean, are you getting paid by Raphinha's marketing team to defend them? I don't get it. But anyways, let's see. Mustafa says, good evening, Mo. Who is next replacement for Sergio Busquets? Amrabat is Xabi's number 1 option. Let's see what else. Sammy says, you think Raphinha is good because of his stat, right? Nah, Raphinha isn't Barca type. I agree. I don't think his stats are that impressive. Yes, he has scored 10 goals, but again, we're talking about Barcelona. You're supposed to be scoring a lot more than that. Let's see what else. Joe says, is it true Neymar will accept pay? I think you mean a pay cut. No. Well, I don't know if he's gonna accept the pay cut or not, but what I can confirm is that Barcelona are not interested in signing Neymar. I mean, there's no way PSG are gonna sell Neymar for a low price to Barcelona. So Barcelona cannot afford his transfer fee. Even if PSG somehow, I don't know, they God tells them do it and they listen, and they do decide to sell Neymar to us for a very low price. We can't afford his salary. And even if he decides to cut his salary, Barcelona don't want him back. He's very toxic in the locker room. They don't want that kind of drama, that kind of attention in the locker room. You know, Xabi has built a very well close-knit team, and we see that on the field, how all these players get along really well. They're very close to each other, you know, and they don't want to introduce someone like Neymar to the locker room. Plus, I personally think I love Neymar. I love Neymar, and I think he had the potential to be one of the best or the best in history. But unfortunately, I don't think he's interested in football anymore. I think he's more interested in his persona as a celebrity rather than as a footballer. I don't think the hunger is not really there anymore. So Barca's not really interesting. Oh, Andres says Gift Orban. Yes, thank you for reminding me. So it's Gift Orban and Hojland, Barcelona are also considering in case they can't sign Vitor Roque. All right, one more comment and then we'll wrap it up. We're already at 40 minutes. I don't want to make it any longer than it needs to be. Estada says if Raphinha refuses to leave, Barcelona will go to the forbidden move, selling him best defender. I think what you're trying to say is that if Raphinha doesn't go, that they will sell Christensen. Christensen is not for sale. The club told him he's not for sale. You know, if the club, I guess, absolutely have to, they would. But Christensen is not for sale, as it should be, because he's proved himself as to be one of the best center backs in the world. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for all your comments in the chat section. I always look forward to reading them and getting a discussion going. Thank you for those who will be watching the live stream when it ends. I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Again, there will be another live stream this weekend after the match against Espanyol, where hopefully we're all going to be celebrating together Barcelona's first La Liga title since 2019. Anyways, thank you guys again for watching. As always, Visca Barça.